Hi everyone, this is the second video of the Cameo MagicDraw plugin development lessons. Today's topic will be actions. My name is Zsolt and I will be your host today. So what is an action? Action enables you adding new functionality to MagicDraw. This is achieved through the graphical user interface. That means basically you can add new menu items, buttons, icons, whatever you want. And when the user presses those icons or clicks the menu items, some kind of functionality will be executed. Here I provided a link to the MagicDraw website where you can read more about the functionalities, but we will go really into the details in this video. So where are the locations of those actions? Where can you put those actions? You can add them to the main menu. Then you can also add an action to the main toolbar, like here, or to a diagram palette, or even to the diagram toolbar, and there are other examples as well. As in the previous video, we will start first with a demonstration, and in order to have this demonstration, we need to kind of download the code. The location is provided in this slide, and as in the earlier video, you can just use the git clone command to have all your code, and you just need to follow the instructions and build the plugin for yourself and install in your MagicDraw or Cameo, and you can already try it out. In the following demonstration, I will display 4 features. The features are the following: add the menu item to the main toolbar, add the menu item to the browser, add a menu item to a subcategory of the browser, and add an icon to the diagram toolbar. Whenever you press on each of those items or the button or the icon, some kind of functionality will run, which will basically display a dialog. So let's start the demonstration. So the first one was add a menu item to the main menu. So this is the main menu, and here I added a new menu item called Lesson 2 Main Menu Action. If we click this menu item, then a dialog is displayed. The second one was to add a menu item to this browser. So whenever I click right mouse click on an item, here you will see another action, Lesson 2 Browser Action. Click it, something is displayed here. If I click another item, this is also displayed, but inside the related element, I also was able to add a new menu item, so Lesson 2 Browser Action. So this is something displayed. And to the diagram toolbar, I added an icon. This is this nice epoch icon. And if you select an element, actually a diagram element, or presentation element on a diagram, like here, and you press this icon, then something is displayed. So what is displayed here? This is just basically a text. This is the same dialog that we used in the previous lesson. And the text content is just select element and the type of the element that is selected and the name of the element. So it's a class and the name is custom plugin. So if we select another element, then we press this, and the selected element is a type of class and the name is custom configurator, as you can see here. So this is the basic demonstration, and now we will go into the details. In order to go into the details, we need to talk about the meta model or the hierarchy of the classes of MagicDraw and how to use them in order to create this kind of functionality. So I created a model in MagicDraw that is representing this kind of structure that we will use later. Each and every box is actually a class, a Java class that is either implemented by MagicDraw or implemented by us as developers. So this kind of reddish, pinkish boxes are the classes implemented by MagicDraw, and the green classes will be implemented by us. And we even have these blue elements, which are also implemented by MagicDraw, but they are actually some kind of user interface elements. That's for better understanding. So what we need to do in order to have this kind of functionality? So of course we need to have a plugin that we had also in the previous lesson. So this is a custom code. Custom code means that we as a developer have to implement it. We also need to have some kind of registration code that somehow magically registers all those actions that will happen. That we can click on a certain place, something will happen. So this requires basically 3 steps. The first step is to create an action. So we need to implement an action. Action is the code that will be actually executed when you click on the icon or on the menu item, whatever. This is called a custom action. The second is custom configuration. Custom configuration helps us to find the location of this element inside a group of elements. So if I have a menu item here, like this kind of category, this is called category. So this list of elements from here like to here. So configurator will help you to find the exact location where to insert this kind of element here, after here, or after here, or at the end of the list, or the beginning of the list, or there. And then there is the third step, is a registration of this. So this will be the configurator. And the third step is to register this configurator, telling exactly where to put this kind of search logic. So put it like into this toolbar, or somewhere in the menu, or somewhere in the browser, etc. So this will be basically the structure that we will use. We'll implement custom plugin, registration logic, some kind of action, some kind of custom configurator, and that's it. So the first case I like to go into details is adding a menu item into the main menu. So this lesson 2 main menu action, which you can press, and you will see basically a hello world message. So let's just follow this diagram that we had before. We definitely need to have a plugin. We'll probably have. And we need to write 2 classes, 1 and 2, and also some kind of registration code. So let's see how we can do that. So I need to go into the... So I have an editor already open. For this, we have 2 classes, as we told earlier. Main menu action, which is action, and main menu configurator, which is a configurator, and somewhere we have a registration code as well. So let's start with the main menu action. Main menu action is a very simple class that when the user clicks on the particular item, it will be executed and do the logic. So how is it structured? How you need to do this? Of course, you have an action performed method, that's a specific method, and inside this method you can write your own business logic, and that's great. But what is the structure? Why I need to extend actions and all those things? So let's go back to the model. Let's talk about it a little bit. So whenever you want to have a custom action, you need to extend your action. You need to subtype your action from MD action, that is a class provided by MagicDraw. And this class is of a type of NM action, which might contain multiple actions as well. And but the interesting thing is that sometimes you extend MD action, but if you need more feature, you can extend default browser action or default diagram action or property action. What happens when you extend, for example, default browser action? Default browser action will provide you additional features which help you to access the browser tree, for example. Or the diagram action provides you additional methods, basically. Through them, you can access the diagram, and so on and so forth. So for this purpose, for this menu item, we don't need to we don't want to access the browser elements or the toolbar. We don't care. So this is just a simple MD action. So basically, we just extend MD action. We create a constructor with an ID and a name, and we need to override this action performed method. And here we can write the code that we want. So let's talk about the two parameters, ID and name. ID will be a unique identifier of this action, which is globally unique in MagicDraw. So you need to provide some kind of name, and you have to ensure that this is unique through the whole MagicDraw. And the name will be just the label that you will see here. So this is the name. Okay. So basically, adding a new action is so really simple. So let's talk about the configurator. So as we talked about earlier, configurator is a class that kind of finds the location where this action will be put. So a custom configurator has to implement an interface which is a configurator with priority, but you rarely implement this class. In most of the cases, you implement like OM configurator or browser context OM configurator and so on and so forth. So for this purpose, we will use configurator, which will reference to an action manager. So there will be a reference to an action manager. With the action manager, you can find items, elements inside MagicDraw, and then find its category, and then you can add your action into this category. So category, MagicDraw terms, is basically a list of actions. So like you can find this category, so this list of actions somehow, and then you will be able to add your action inside this list. I mean, at the end of this list. This is what the custom configurator will do. So let's just check the code. So what we wanted to achieve is we want to add this menu item at the end of this list. In order to do that, we have to do the following thing. We need to get a reference to one of those items, somewhere here, and then from this element, navigate out the category, so they parent basically, which will be this whole list, and then add this new action that we have at the end of this list. So we want to have those 3 steps. So let's see how to do that. So the first thing, as I told earlier, we need to implement configurator. This is what we are doing here exactly. It has to have, it doesn't have to have, but we added a constructor. We basically just pass this menu action. So through this, we are saying that, okay, this configurator is basically responsible for this type of action that we created earlier. And it has to kind of find the place of this action. And when this configure method is executed, so talked about, it will have a reference to the action manager. Here it is, actions manager. And this whole logic, the purpose of this logic is to find the location of the action somehow. And let's see how it can do. So as I told earlier, the first step is to find a particular item in this list. So through Actions Manager, we can find the new project menu entry. So it has a method getAction4. It will find us this action. So we'll talk about this action ID later. Now just accept that it is able to find this action. This is the new project action. And if it exists, hopefully it exists, then we will find a category by having the action and asking the Actions Manager, please, I have this action, return me its parent. So just Actions Manager, so get action parent, new actions, action will return a category. So this will be a category. And this category will have actions. So this will be the whole list of actions. So this is just a list. We will have this list now. We have this list. And we add simply this action to the list. So we found the new project action. We found the category. From the category, we get a list of actions. And we added our action to this list. But the problem is, it won't be displayed in MagicDraw. And the reason for that is getActions is actually returning a copy of the list of actions. It's a copy, it's not the reference, it's a copy of the list. That means we need to tell the category, okay, we now have a new list, please use this one instead the old one that you provided us earlier. This is the reason we need to call category.setActions. And then we add this new list, this extended list to the category, actually not add, but set. So we will set the actions, the list of actions to the category, which will then kind of update the user interface, and that's it. So let's talk about this actions ID. So the problem is that MagicDraw has so many actions. So every item you can click here, every button you can click here in the toolbar, or whatever you can see like here, those, or even those buttons, or those buttons, everything basically is an action. And the way you can find a particular action is by having a reference to this action. And this is what you can do through Actions ID. So Actions ID is a class which has a huge amount, basically an interface, which has a huge amount of list of strings, and this is like an enumeration. So you have like add diagram legend, or what's new, or add create message, or I don't know, whatever, save as, and so on and so forth. So when you need to find an item, you need to kind of guess the name of the item and then use this action. This is kind of not very nice because I actually never found a list of which connects that if I select like this button, what is its name? So I have to kind of guess it, and this is how it works. So this part is a little bit tricky. Okay, so what we have here now is we have our custom action. This is the code that will run. We have the custom configurator. This will find the location of this new action. And we have we need to add a registration logic as well. So let's see how registration logic looks like. So we added the registration logic into the plugin, to the init method. So this is like create main action. So create main action, as we talked about earlier, will do three things. It will instantiate an action, a configurator, and he will tell MagicDraw that I have this configurator, please use it here or there. So we will create just simply an action, which is a main menu action. We provided an ID. This is generated by myself, so just like lesson 2 main menu action. I'm pretty sure that no one else will use this kind of ID. And it has a name. So this is the label that is displayed. I created then a configurator. So this is a new instance of the configurator, and I put this action. And the third step is to tell where to use this configurator, this kind of finder that will find the location of our action. So this is what you can do using actions configuration manager and .get instance, which gets the single instance inside MagicDraw. And then you will have various add whatever methods. And what we want to do is to add this configurator to the main menu. So we have like add main menu configurator, and we need to pass the configurator. But there are really plenty of those possibilities. So like actions configurator manager .get instance .add. As you can see, you have so many places where you can add. So like main menu and diagram browser, or any diagram, or diagram toolbar, or search browser, or so various locations. So this is also something that it's probably not that well documented, so you need to play with this a little bit. But basically that's it. It's so simple. So to summarize, we have to create an action. We did. We need to create a configurator. We did. And we need to create this kind of additional code that connects the action and the configurator and the location. So this is just the registration part. The next feature is adding a context menu item to the browser. So this is the browser, these three actually. And a context menu is when you press like right click, and then in this context of the context of the selected item, you can add a particular action here, or even inside the structure, inside the sub menu, like here. So the logic is exactly the same. So we need to create a registration logic, some kind of custom configurator, some kind of custom action. The custom action here, however, we use the default browser action in order to get the actually selected item. Configurator will be logically very similar to the one that we used, with a little bit twist. That's it. And the registration code will be also very similar. So let's just check the code. So first we need to create an action. And what will this action do? Let's see. So it somehow gets the selected node, displays the type of the node and the name of the node. So the type is diagram and the name is high level overview. We need to do this somehow. So let's just see. Go into this editor, and we have a browser action. This browser action extends default browser action, and it has a constructor. This is the same, and it has the action perform method, which is the same, but the content is not. Here we can see that we have a call get3. So this is calling get3, which is provided by the default browser action. So we can go into this class. We'll see get3 method. This is returning the tree that we are working with, and that's great. So now we have the tree. Now what we want to do is to have the selected node and get the model element behind that selected node. So we can simply say that, okay, tree.getSelected node, it's returning the selected node. If there is a selection, so it is not null, then we will check the type of this selected element. If it's a base element, which is kind of the base element, base UML element for every MagicDraw element, which is of a type of a UML element. So if the selected element is actually as a base element, then we get the user object, and this will be actually the model element, and we'll just simply log the element.getHumanName, and that's it. So this is quite straightforward. Now the next step is the configurator. a configurator, our configurator needs to implement browser context IAM configurator, and it also has the tree, and so we can do tricky things like display only. Let me just go back here. It's easier to understand. So because the configurator, we can create kind of a check that display like this menu item only if you press the right mouse on a I don't know, sysml block. Otherwise, don't do that. But right now, we won't do anything like this. We just create simply a new category, and we will add the action to this category, and then we will tell Action Manager to add this category to the list of categories. So what we did here, that we created a new category. So category is a list of actions, and added it to the end of the list. So this here, you see. So this every horizontal line kind of separates a list of a category. So this one, this whole thing is a category. This is also a category. This is also a category. Those 1, 2, 3, 4 items. Those are sorry, 3 items. Those are a category, and those 2 items are also a category, and those 3 items are also a category, and so on and so forth. So we just created a new category and added it to the end of the list. And what we have here, the third step is to create, do the registration. So this is also straightforward. We create the action, we create a configurator, and we tell the action configuration manager that add containment browser context configurator, and this will basically registers our configurator to MagicDraw. And that's it. So that's actually the second function or use case. And we have a third one which will use basically the same action. So therefore we will demonstrate that we can reuse an action that we already wrote, and we will basically have the same action also, but on a different location, which will be inside this related element here. So we will add this new action also inside the related element in this subcategory. And okay, how can we do that? We can simply reuse our browser action, because when the user clicks, we want to do the same. So we don't need to kind of copy paste the code, and that's great. However, we need to have another configurator which will find the location for our item, and that's fine. And it will do the following way. We use the same method as we used earlier, get action for, which will return actually a category because it's a submenu. So we asked the action manager to return an action, and the identifier of the action is related element submenu. So this submenu, interestingly, this is also a category. So this whole thing is a category. So we can just simply ask that, okay, return this category. And how to figure it out? Well, using guesswork actually. So if we find this category, we will just simply add the action to this category, and that's it. So category.add action, and then the action will be added, and that's so simple. And so this is the reason why it's displayed here. Here, but we need to have, of course, an additional step that we need to register this configurator. So those 2 lines are doing exactly this. So we create a browser-related element submenu configurator, and we registered it the same way as before. Now the name browser2 configurator is probably not very correct, but okay. And the interesting thing is that we use action, and action. So the same action is actually reused. So this was actually the third feature where we displayed that an action can be reused, and using a different configurator. And that's great, because then we will have a kind of reusable code. So let's start with the last feature I'd like to show you. And this is how to add an icon to the menu bar of the diagrams. So whenever I select an item and I press this icon, cute alpaca icon, then the same message dialog as we have seen earlier is displayed. Okay, so how to do that? Of course, we need to create an action, and we need to create a configurator, and we have to create a registration logic. So this is also kind of straightforward. So we need to create an action. So let's start with this action. So we open diagram action, and diagram action will extend default diagram action because we want to do something with the diagram. So this is this class actually, and here we did a small trick because we wanted to have an icon. So what we did here in the constructor, the beginning is the same, it's just kind of copy paste. At the end, we found we wanted to kind of locate a resource, the icon. This is the icon, which is in the resources folder. This alpaca icon, which is 16 by 16 pixel, and actually set it as a small icon. And this is the code, the way you can find an icon that is under the resources folder, and which will set it as a small icon. And you don't really need to know about this more. There is a whole page description about how to play with those images on the MagicDraw site, but we won't go into the details right now. Normally, you will just use this 2-line copy paste, and that's it. So let's talk about what happens when the button is clicked, so action performed. So we will get the presentation elements by calling this getSelected method that is provided by default diagram action. And if there are at least one element selected, so it might happen that we select like multiple elements. So if there is at least one, then we will grab the first one. So presentation elements.get 0. So 0 will be the first element. And we will, because the presentation element is actually this GUI element, which has a color, a width, a height, whatever. So this is what you can configure by this symbol properties menu. But behind that, of course, there is a model element, which is here. So this element is in the model, and this element is in the diagram. Those two are different elements, but this element actually has a reference to this model element. So, and this is the reason why if I change its name, this is changed also here. And what we want to do is actually not play with this diagram element because we don't care about its size or color. We don't want to set it right now. We want to work with this model element. The way you can do that is you grab the presentation element and call .getElement, and this element will be actually this model element, which has a method called getHumanName, and we'll just simply display it as part of the message. And the human name will display the type and the name of the element, and that's it. So this is the action. We need to have a configurator as well. So we will just use a simple configurator. We will create a new category and add the action, and tell the action manager to add this category at the end of the list of the categories. So it will just add the category to the end of the list. That means that so this one, let me just check it like so I can move it out. So this is a category. This is also a category, and here we created actually a new category. So this is not an icon that is just standing here alone. this is part of a category, like this one. Yeah, this category contains only one item, or alpaca icon, but this is a category nevertheless. So we just created this new category and added it to the end of the list. And of course, we need to register it. So this is the third method. And as usual, like we did it before, we create an action, we create a configurator, and we tell the action configuration manager that please add this configurator to the any diagram command bar configurator, to the any diagram into the command bar, and it will do. So that's for the last feature. If you want to know more, you can go onto the MagicDraw website, and in the developer guide there is a chapter called adding new functionality, and it contains various parts like invoking actions, so where you can invoke the actions and creating new actions. This is a little bit similar to the examples I showed you before, and the hierarchy of the actions, this might be helpful for you, and how to work with icons. So as I told earlier, that you can play a lot with icons, and it gives you some tips and hints. And there is also a part about what if your action is long running, is doing some kind of calculations or connects to some database and download some data, whatever, which is taking just too much time, and how to work with those actions. But we'll talk about this in a later video. To summarize today's lesson, today's topic was actions. So how to create a menu item, a button, whatever in MagicDraw, which can be pressed by the user, which will execute some kind of action. We told about the locations, we told about the different types, whether you can create menu item or icon, whatever. We talked about the model that you need to follow, and we actually created 4 different examples. So this is of course just an introduction, so you can go more into the details, but I hope it will give you a nice overview. So a little bit about networking in case of you have any question or ideas, or you don't understand something, or you need some kind of help, you can reach me on the following links. You can write me an email, you can access me through LinkedIn. If you are interested, you can even read my blog about model-driven design and development, and business analysis and systems analysis, and so on and so forth. Some of my articles are written in Hungarian, which can be translated to English via Google Translator, and I already have at least one article that is completely written in English. So please, really, if you have any kind of question, feel free to contact me. You can contact me, of course, on Discord as well. So that's for now. Thank you for your attention, and see you next time.